There's a moment right after a heart stops that nobody can explain. Not a slow fade to black, not silence, a surge. For a handful of seconds, the brain doesn't power down. It lights up, brighter and more organized than it gets when you're wide awake, crackling with the exact kind of electrical activity we link to vivid, conscious experience. Then it's gone. We've measured it. We just can't tell you what it felt like, because the only person who could is no longer there to ask. And here's the part that should sit with you tonight. We first recorded that surge in a rat. So let's be clear about where this really stands. We know almost nothing about how an animal experiences its own death. We can't interview the dying. We can't follow anything across that line and come back to report on it. What we have instead are signals, fragments, the faint readings on the other side of a wall we can't see through. Spikes on a monitor, a change in behavior, a body doing something strange in its final seconds. And every one of those signals says the same maddening thing. Something is happening in there. None of them tells us what. This whole video lives inside that gap, between the certainty that something is going on inside a dying animal and the impossibility of knowing what it is. So let's start pulling on the threads. Start with the simplest signal of all, fear. Put a mouse where it can see another mouse in distress, and its body betrays it. Its heart rate climbs. Stress chemistry floods its blood. It freezes, reacting to a threat happening to someone else, as if some part of it understands that the danger applies to it too. Fish do a version of this. Wound certain fish, and their skin releases a chemical alarm, an invisible scream that sends every other fish in the water bolting for cover. They never saw the predator. They just know, in the oldest language there is, that death is close. And it isn't only wild fear. Bring it into your own house. People who've had 2 animals, and then lost one, describe the same thing over and over. The one left behind goes quiet, stops eating, wanders the rooms, checking the spots where the other one used to sleep, waiting at the door for something that isn't coming back. Surveys of thousands of these homes turn up the same pattern, a grief-shaped shift in behavior that nobody trained and nobody expected. We can't ask the survivor what it knows, but something in its world has gone missing, and its body answers the way a body answers loss. Now, move up the ladder. You've probably heard that crows hold funerals. It's a lovely idea, and it's almost true, just not in the way it sounds. When a crow dies, other crows gather. They land in the branches above the body. They call out, loud and harsh, and more keep arriving, until there's a whole crowd of them staring down at their fallen own. It looks like grief. But watch what they do. They study the scene. They memorize the place. They memorize the face of whatever was standing near the body, a person, a hawk, a cat, and they will remember it and scold it and steer clear of it for years afterward. The gathering isn't a wake. It's a lesson. The crows are learning where death came from, so it doesn't come for them next. And that might be the more unsettling reading, because it means they may not be mourning the dead at all. They're standing over a body, calculating their own odds. But not every animal at a deathbed is doing math. In a safari park in Scotland, an elderly chimpanzee named Pansy was dying. She was old, fading, and the other chimps she had lived alongside for years seemed to understand it. In her final days, they groomed her more than usual, slow and gentle, touching her, staying close. The night she died, they went quiet in a way the keepers had never witnessed. One adult male approached the body and did something that stops you cold when you read about it. He leaned in, examined her closely, and seemed to test her for any sign of life, the way you might shake a shoulder and whisper a name. Her grown daughter stayed beside the body all night and would not leave it. In the days after, the group was subdued. They avoided the spot where she had died. Think about what's folded into that one detail. Not just sadness, but avoidance. To avoid a place because of what happened there, you first have to remember what happened there. You have to be carrying it. Nobody taught these animals to do any of this. And no scientist will swear to you that they grasped death the way you do. But sit with the full picture, the tending, the hush, the checking, the refusal to leave, and try to tell me it looks like nothing. Which brings us back to that surge. Here's what makes it so hard to shake. When a brain throws off that final burst of organized, high-frequency activity, it's producing the exact signature it makes during dreaming, during memory, during the most vivid moments of being alive. We've now glimpsed it in a handful of dying human brains, not just in the rat on the table. Nobody can prove that anyone experienced anything. The surge might be the lights flickering as the power fails, pure electrical noise on the way out. Or it might be the last thing a mind ever does, a final flood of something, a memory, an image, a feeling, with no one left behind to say which. We do not know. We may never know. And the surge is only one door we can't see through. Picture a female octopus. She lays her eggs, and then something in her brain flips a switch, and her body begins to take itself apart. She stops eating. She wastes away guarding those eggs until the moment they hatch, and then she's gone, right on schedule, by design. Her death wasn't an accident or a predator. It was an appointment her own biology made. Does she feel it coming? Is there anything like dread in that slow shutdown? We have no idea. Different animal, different death, the same sealed door. And if that uncertainty sits inside us, the one species that can describe its own inner life, then think about what it means to stand over a dying dog, or a dying chimp, or a rat in a lab. The same wiring, the same surge, the same locked door. And that's the quiet trick this whole subject plays on you. You came here asking what an animal feels when it dies. But somewhere in the last few minutes, the question turned around to face you. Because everything we've been describing, the body that floods with alarm, the brain that surges at the threshold, the pull to stay beside the dying and refuse to leave, none of it is theirs alone. It's yours. You are an animal that will one day feel its own heart stop. And you are also, right now, the animal that sits on a cold floor in a vet's office with one hand resting on a small, warm body, staying until the very end because leaving feels unthinkable. We didn't invent that impulse. We inherited it. The chimp who wouldn't leave her mother's body and the person who can't make themselves leave the room are running the same ancient program. The wall we built between us and them, the one that quietly insists their deaths are simpler, smaller, less than ours, was never really standing there at all. So, I'll leave you with this. There's a kind of moment that plays out in quiet rooms everywhere, every single day. An old dog, near the end, lifts its head up off the floor. It's exhausted. It has every reason to stay down, but it searches for you, finds your eyes, and holds them for just a second longer than it needs to. People who have seen it swear that it's a goodbye. Science cannot confirm that. It might be nothing more than comfort reaching for the familiar, an animal seeking safety the only way it knows how. We can't prove there's meaning in that last look, but we can't prove there isn't, and that not knowing isn't a gap we're going to close with one more study. It's the shape of the thing itself. Maybe that's the truest thing this strange, unanswerable subject leaves us holding. The one experience we are most certain we share with every creature that has ever lived, the ending, is the one we understand the least, in them and in ourselves. That dog held your gaze. You will never know what it meant, and you will never quite stop wondering. Here's the thing. Science can't close this one for us, and maybe it never will. So I want to know where you land. When an animal dies, do you believe there's someone in there who knows it's happening? Or is that just us, painting our own fear onto a face that can't feel it? There's no safe answer here, and I'm not fishing for the right one. I only want yours. Tell me in the comments. And if you want to keep sitting inside questions that refuse to have clean endings, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.